I was so bad that they needed to get me onto a ventilator. I pleaded that I could have my vaccinations, and they said it was just too late. You know, and that's my biggest regret.
Emily's condition was so severe she had to be put into an induced coma for a fortnight. She was unvaccinated, having been taken in by conspiracy theories she'd read on Facebook.
COVID's not real, it's just the flu, and it was that, and I think, well, do I really need this? So it just goes through your head, and they play games, but because it's so widespread on there, you end up listening to them, you know, and then you share it, and then that puts it across to somebody else.
How do you feel about it all?
Stupid. Really, really stupid. I've put everyone through something that didn't need to be, you know. I just wish now that I'd have had it done.
Emily has multiple sclerosis and had a vaccine appointment booked but missed it when her car broke down. But then the conspiracy theories took over and she says she became complacent and it nearly cost her life.
I kissed the face of death, and I know I did. Yeah, I went through very dark places. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, I can assure you. Overnight, your breathing has needed a lot of support, almost the most our ventilators can give.
Whilst in a coma in intensive care, the nurses wrote a diary for Emily so that she could read about what had happened when she got better.
You will have at least one nurse with you at all times, so you will never be alone. We will all be hoping very much that you will get better. Best wishes, Rosie and Janet.
What was that like to read?
Really emotional, because you're not really aware of, you're not aware of what's going on, and you miss so much of your life. You know, it's a jigsaw.
Emily's now making sure that all of her eligible family and friends who aren't vaccinated will be doing so as soon as possible. And she said she spoke to me today to warn others about a mistake that nearly killed her.
I'm not worried about the anti-vaxxers now. What I've been through, I'm not bothered. They're not going to be there putting flowers on your grave, because that's where you'll end up, generally. And all I can say is to anyone out there that hasn't been vaccinated, get it done. Get it done. Don't put your family through this, you know. Because there's one thing, after seeing what, my family were like, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
Steve Knibbs, BBC Points West, Gloucester.
I think that's one of the most powerful interviews I've ever seen with regards to the COVID virus. Thank you, Emily, for being so open and bravely sharing your story with us. We hope, of course, you recover really soon. Well, joining us live from the intensive care unit at the Gloucestershire Royal is lead consultant, Dr. David Windsor. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Yet again, your hospital trust has given us incredible access, as you have done throughout this pandemic. But today, hearing Emily speak so honestly feels like actually the most powerful yet. What do you hope that people will get from hearing her?
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? Firstly, it's great to see Emily looking so well. She was really unwell with us, and actually in this very room here is where we put her off to sleep on a ventilator. So we're delighted as doctors, therapists and nurses to see her looking better. But what she can do in her story is break through some of the misinformation and the mistruths, and it's bound to highlight the importance of vaccination. That Emily's condition was essentially preventable with vaccination, and she decided not to have it done.
One of the most common questions that we get asked each night after we do the latest figures, of course, is how many of those admitted to hospital have been vaccinated? So why do you think there still is that uncertainty out there over getting the jab?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid question. And we know that not many people remain unvaccinated, but still a significant proportion. Since April in our hospital, we've seen over 300 people with coronavirus. And I can tell you when we last analysed the data, 65% of those were unvaccinated, which, considering that's a small percentage of the population, that's a really significant number. But we are seeing people double vaccinated come into hospital with COVID, but they get much less severe illness. And they're often coming into hospital with another problem, such as a head injury or needing surgery. And I can tell you, every day we are seeing people who are double vaccinated get better much quicker. And these people, if they weren't vaccinated, would have died a year ago.
That's interesting. Are you able to kind of describe what it feels like as a doctor when there's a patient sick or dying with COVID and they ask you if they can be vaccinated, as obviously we were hearing Emily describe that she did?
It's a complete heart sink, and it feels like we've failed in getting the message across at times. We're really comfortable with looking after people with a range of health beliefs, and I'm very happy to discuss those with anyone. But it's really, really hard for the nurses and doctors and therapists working with these people day in and day out, knowing that they could have prevented this. The link between severe COVID is now been destroyed by vaccination really significantly. And on a daily basis, I'm meeting people who didn't get around to getting the vaccine, who were misled about the side effects, or see vaccination as some sort of control by the government. But it really isn't. Vaccination is a liberation.
This has been a really powerful chat. Dr. David Windsor, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you.